The Anker E10 is Anker's big swing at real home backup power. It's marketed as infinite power, capable of powering your entire home. And so to see if that's the case, we got two of these E10s with their power dock and a tri-fuel generator to find out if this is truly infinite power or if you're better spending your hard-earned money on something else. So welcome back to the lab where our opinions cannot be bought. We have already made a video on the E10 itself as a single product, 2 batteries, 1 inverter, and their basic smart inlet box. But today we're gonna focus on this entire bundle that they sell as infinite power. If you guys are looking for more entry information on this product, go check out our other video first. It's probably a better foundational video to get to know what we're working with. But we have had both of these units with the power dock and the generator here at the lab for a while now. Dylan has put these units and Anker's tech support through absolute hell, trying to make sure that we have a really good understanding of these new products. And as always, we will leave links in the description down below, as well as any discount codes we can get from Anker to save you guys some money. But before we jump into our experience and everything that we really like about this whole system, and where there's some room for improvement, we're gonna give you a super quick overview of all the products that we're working with today. So we're working with 2 stacks of E10s. That's basically 2 of these inverters right here, which are 7.6 kilowatts each, as well as 4 batteries, 2 underneath each inverter. So we have a total storage capacity of just under 25 kilowatt hours and a total inverter output of about 15 kilowatts. Between the 2 inverters, you can charge them with a total of 18 kilowatts of solar. We have both of these units plugged into Anker's power dock. This is kind of like the smart side of things. The power dock can be used as a service entry point, so it can handle up to 200 amps, or you can use it just kind of as a sub panel. And it also has the smart load capabilities, meaning you can prioritize certain loads and make sure that if your Tesla charger is trying to kick on while you're in the middle of cooking dinner, it's smart enough to be able to pause that Tesla charger for a little bit and make sure that you have enough available power before you go ahead and turn it on. With that, you can connect up to 3 E10 stacks, and each E10 inverter can have 5 batteries underneath it. So you can get up to a total of 90 kilowatt hours of storage if you use a system like this. The power dock has a total of 4 AC in and out ports, which is a little confusing to us because you can only put a maximum of 3 E10 inverters, and they don't have any accessories that currently plug into the power dock. So there's 4 input output ports, but you can only use a total of 3 E10s. The 2 main breakers inside of this thing are 200 amps each. One is for input, one is for output, and the rest of the breakers in there are for your smart loads. The one thing with this is it doesn't have any knockouts for you to put your wires through. You actually have to drill into it wherever you want to put your wires in, which is a little bit of a weird thing, but it works. And we also have Anker's tri-fuel generator, which runs off of natural gas, propane, or straight up gas. It's a 4,500 watt output, and the generator actually plugs directly into the inverter on the E10 stacks. And it's a smart generator, so basically the inverter can communicate with it to turn it on or off when it needs a charge or when it gets full. And you can have up to 3 of those in your total system, 1 for each inverter. In our testing, we had the very terrible experience of having a really short cord, because at the time they only sold those cords. Now they have like a 10-meter extension cord, so you can run the generator outside of your garage and have your system inside of your garage. But you'll notice in all of our testing, the generator is in the garage with the door open and the fans on, because we were limited to like a 3-meter cord. And the generator does have AC output as well. It has 120 volt regular house plug and a 30 amp plug, so you can use it for a little bit more than just charging this stack. Otherwise, everything here is super simple. There is no screen or anything on the inverter itself. It just has the indicator light on the front. You have a couple buttons on the side, your PV input, but not a whole lot going on the units. The generator has a screen on it, so you can see what's going on there a little bit, but most of this system is meant to be controlled through the app. So there's not a whole lot of just visible what's going on with screens and stuff like that with this system. And overall, it's a super simple system. Once you have your power dock wired up and everything set up, everything else, like plugging into a stack of E10s or adding a battery underneath, is super simple. It's all plug and play. These inverters and batteries basically just click on top of each other to connect, and they just plug into the power dock with a single cable. So everything after that is very easy. And in this scenario that we have with the 2 inverters, 4 batteries, the tri-fuel generator, and the power dock, we're looking at a rough price of about $15,000 with our discount code. Now, before we jump into the performance of how this all worked, we want to hit you guys with a few quick things that we really liked with this system as a whole, starting with their giant quick start guides. This is probably the most IKEA-esque thing that we have installed here at the lab. Like, there is giant photos and very little words on here. It makes it very easy and nice to set the system up. And there's one of these giant manuals for each component basically. You have one for the E10, even though it's super simple and barely even needs it. You have one for the power dock, you have one for the generator. So if you were intimidated by doing the install at all, this kind of takes the intimidation right out of it.
It's the least Chinese manual we've ever seen.
That's actually true too. Was there multiple languages or it just showed up in English?
Big one's only in English.
We also really like that the cables are idiot proof basically. They're not only twist lock cables, so they kind of have this little like snappy ring that holds them in, but they're color coded. So this black tip one only goes in one spot. The other one has a gray tip and it only goes in one spot. So you really can't screw this up. And on the power dock end, you basically have these little locking tabs. So you click it in, lock it down, it's not going anywhere. It's just a very dummy-proof way to set everything up. We also like that this is now a high voltage system, meaning it just is silent. There's no fans or anything. There's cooling fins on the back that you can see, and that is how the system actually cools itself. So there's less components to wear down and break, but it's also very quiet, which is nice because normally a $15,000 system in your garage is noisy and annoying. Like we said, the power dock has smart breakers, so you can actually go in the app and set up a priority of how you want those to be treated in the event of a power outage, what you deem to be the most necessary. It's all done through the app and it's very, very easy. And something that's actually cool about the generator is that similar to a regular standby generator that you would install outside of your house, like a Generac, this thing actually has an exercise mode, so you can schedule it, or you can schedule just reminders for you to turn it on every once in a while and run it to make sure that everything's functioning as it should, so you don't find out when the power's out that your generator's hooped. And similar to a power station's charging methods, the generator also has 3 different running modes. So you have turbo, eco, and quiet. So basically on turbo, you can get the 4,500 watts of output. On eco, you get 4,000, and then on quiet, you get 2,100. And we also like that if you were to buy this whole kit from Anker's website, you can actually purchase installation of this power dock if it's intimidating to you directly from their site when you're buying the whole bundle. And if we jump into our testing with this whole system to see how it really performs and how much you can really stress these things out, starting with the surging, it was really, really good. So these are just over 7,000 watt inverters, and they have a turbo mode of about 10,000. So each inverter can do up to 90 minutes of 10,000 watts. And so for a couple different scenarios, we ran both inverters in turbo mode. So we're running about 21 kilowatts of load, and we could still surge it up to just under 25 kilowatts for about 10 seconds, which is pretty impressive. We were also able to run both inverters on turbo mode, so we had a total of 21 kilowatts going, and surge the compressor, which is really good because that's like a 10,000 watt surge. It's very similar to starting something like an air conditioner. And once that was surged and running, we were still able to add another 6,000 watts of load. Basically, we were able to get this thing to surge over 30 kilowatts before it would actually trip and fail, which is pretty good considering the rated output for 2 inverters together is only 15 kilowatts. In our testing, we found that the generator has roughly a 2% allowance on either end of your state of charge settings, which in English just means that if you have it set to come on at 10%, it may come on as low as 8%. It might not queue immediately. And if you have it set to turn off once your batteries are at 80%, it may turn off up to like 82. So that was just something we noticed. We thought maybe there was some issues at first, but after doing a bunch of testing, it just doesn't seem to be like super precise, but it does come on and it does work. It just requires you to have at least a 10% difference between where you want it to come on and where you want it to turn off. The one thing we found with the generator though is that because it plugs directly into the E10, it doesn't balance the charging across your E10s. So it would make more sense if it plugged into something like the power dock, and then the power dock distributed your output amongst however many E10s you had plugged in, where in this case, if you have the generator plugged into one E10, it's only going to charge the one E10. So if you want multiple stacks and you want to use the generator, you're either going to have to unplug it and plug it in multiple times or get multiple generators, which is a little weird. Same thing goes for the solar input. It's actually got a really high solar input. 9,000 watts per inverter is really good, but it plugs into the inverter, not the power dock. There's no way to get it into the power dock. So you'd have to take your solar array and divide it up into each inverter to kind of equally distribute your solar power. It's just a little bit of a weird thing. Otherwise, the generator was great. We really liked that you can go ahead and enter your propane tank size when you're using propane. Similar to how when you fill up the gas, it knows how big the tank is, has a fuel sensor, tells you how long it's gonna run for. With the propane, you can enter your propane tank size, and then the app will estimate your consumption and give you kind of like a runtime on the propane tank, which is cool because a lot of other units, you can't actually input how big your tank is, it just guesses. We also found that when you're running the generator into your E10, if you actually trip your E10 out, like if you overload it, surge it, the E10 will turn off and do its reset cycle, but the generator will keep running and charging the batteries, which is pretty cool. We also found that with the generator, you can use it with, right now it's limited to the F3000 and the F3800. Anker says they're gonna come out with it available for more units, but that's what it works with right now. But we found that even though it's like got a DC cable that strictly plugs into the E10, it's not designed to work with other Anker products, you can AC couple it is what they're calling it. I don't know if that's necessarily the right term, but you can plug it into the regular AC plug on the front. So you have your 120 volt cord plugged into your F3800 as if you were charging it from a wall plug or just a regular generator, but the app can connect the two, which is pretty cool. And in our testing, we found that the app connection is similar to just having it DC connected. The F3800 can cue the generator to turn on and off because they're both talking to each other through the app. And the last thing in our testing that we probably liked the most is that because this generator is outputting DC power directly to the E10, it's able to output the full 4,500 watts, and you're able to pull the full 7,000 out of the E10 at the same time. Normally with like an AC system, if you have them paired together, it will limit your output to whatever the generator is putting in. Whereas in this one, you could output 7,000, input 4,500. There's a few things that we wish were a little different with this setup though, and the first thing is that all of the plugs in this system are extremely proprietary, not even just within the Anker ecosystem, but like to the E10. There is no way to plug any of Anker's other products into anything in this system. The best you're gonna get is plugging the regular charging cord from the F3800 into the AC output of your generator. It would be cool if, because there's so many ports and adapters that you can already get for this system, you could find ways to integrate other things you already own, expansion batteries, power stations, whatever it is from Anker that you already own with this system. We don't love that it's like very uniquely its own thing. I totally understand Anker not wanting you to use a Honda generator with it, although that's annoying and it would be much better if you could. I get that part, but if you own other Anker products, they should at least work with this. We also don't like that when it comes to the E10, if you don't have a smart inlet box or a power dock, it's really hard to charge this thing with AC. You have 9,000 watts of solar, which is huge, and you could charge your batteries really quickly with that, but they only give you a regular 120 volt plug to charge this whole thing. So if you have two batteries at over 6,000 watt hours each, you can only charge it with a maximum of 1,800 watts. So it'll take forever to charge just two batteries. The only way to get 240 volts into this as of right now is through a smart inlet box or power dock, which I see what they're trying to do. They want people to buy the power box, the smart inlet, but they also market this as being able to work on its own. And that's a really limiting factor of it on its own. We also kind of mentioned this already, but something that was really annoying is that the generator does not plug into the big open fourth port on the power dock. And it's annoying because this system does a weird thing where it takes your two, and in the app, it'll give you like an average state of charge. So if you have one that's at 100 and one that's at 1%, it's gonna tell you your system is at 50%. The problem is when that 1% leaves and that full stack is dead, now your system says 100%, but it's not because it's only one stack of batteries that's at 100%. The other stack is actually completely dead. And you can't plug the generator into the power dock to charge both of them equally. So this is something that happened frequently to us because if you have the generator plugged into one stack and you're outputting power, it's balancing your output, but your input is only going into one stack. So eventually as you're draining them, this one's being charged and then this one dies. You have inaccurate readings. It's very confusing. And it would just make a lot more sense if you could plug the generator into the power dock. It would take your 4,500 watts and split it into both stacks equally. This would all be much better. We did bring this up to Anker and they kind of said that their fix is going to be to prioritize whichever battery stack has the higher charge to do the majority of the output, but that's not really a total fix in our opinion. They really just need to work out the actual problem, but we communicated it to them and hopefully they can fix it in a future update because it really should just be software. Something else is that this inverter can only actually output the rated 7,000 watts with two batteries. So if you were to buy a system just like this, you don't actually get 7,000 watts of output from this inverter. It's limited unless you have two batteries, which is not a big deal because most people buying this will probably buy more, but it's just something to note because they do allow you to buy it like this on their website and it won't work as advertised in this configuration. And the last thing that we don't like with this whole system is we have a guess, but we don't know how much this power dock actually costs because you can't buy it on its own. Systems like this we always say are great because you can start now and grow as you can afford to. If all you could afford to do at the beginning was buy one inverter and two batteries, then you're going to use the dongles and stuff like that to power your house or power whatever it is that you're doing. That's a huge benefit to a system like this. But if you then later wanted to add the power dock, it's not available on their website at all. I'm sure you could call in and work something out with someone, but it's weird that it's not like an available product for you to just go on there and buy. So at the end of the day, who is a big system like this for? We think this is best suited for someone who wants an easy to set up, understand, and control system. It's extremely user-friendly, and even if you don't want to install your own power dock, if you have someone come in and install it, once it's set up, the rest of it is super simple. Everything's plug and play. You just use the app. Everything is very easy to understand for a normal person. And like we said, assuming that you buy the power dock with your original purchase of the E10s, you can go ahead and just build the system out as you decide you need more and more power in the future. So if you start with one stack and a power dock and your demand increases, you have kids, they're using all of your power, you just add more batteries, keep going, and we really love that. A benefit that we also see to a system like this is that the only real wiring is your power dock. Everything else is literally just plugs. You unclip them and walk away with them. So if you were to set this up in a spot where maybe you're gonna move in the future, or you just install this and then you decide to move and you wanna bring it with you, it's super easy to do. So at the end of the day, it's a good solution for home backup. It might be a little bit more expensive than a traditional system, but it's plug and play. I actually think that most people would be able to install the whole thing all by themselves. It's very simple to do. And as always, we have links in the description down below if you want to check this out, as well as any discount codes that we can get for you guys. Otherwise, that's pretty much all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace out and stay charged.